Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on introducing Silverfin and in particular our new corporation tax module. It's great for you all to join us. I'm just going to give a couple of seconds to let those last of you drop in. We're still seeing a few of you joining on. Perfect. So just before we get started, you'll notice in the bottom of your screen you've got a Q&A box. So as we go through the session today, please feel free to drop any questions in. We are joined by some of our Silverfin product team on the call as well, so they'll be able to answer questions live as we go. And if we have time at the end, we'll cover a few of those live as well. So in terms of an agenda on our session today, we're going to open up with some quick introductions around Silverfin and our special guests from Hurst Accountants. We're then going to show you some of our newest module, the corporation tax module, and Hannah's going to dive in product for us. And then we're going to have a bit of a chat with Joe and Paige from Hurst about how they're currently using Silverfin in their practice as well. So first off, some introductions. My name's Alicia and I am head of the customer success team here at Silverfin. And I'm joined today by Hannah, who's one of our senior customer success managers. We've both been with Silverfin for coming up for 2 years now and are both from a really similar background. So we've spent quite a long time in practice, working in mid-sized accounting firms, implementing digital strategy there. We then both worked at Xero for a number of years in the partner consulting team before joining Silverfin. So hopefully we're quite good brains for you all to pick. And perhaps most importantly, I am joined by Joe and Paige from Hurst. So I'm just going to hand over to Joe to do a quick introduction.
Thanks, Alicia. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joe Gibson and I'm a business services partner here at Hurst. And I'm joined by my well-esteemed colleague, Paige, who's Associate Manager and is our resident Silverfin product champion. We've both been with Hurst for about 8 years now and deal with mostly sort of non-audit clients. So I suppose just in terms of a little bit more about Hurst then, so we are the leading independent accountants in the sort of Northwest, predominantly across sort of Stockport and Manchester, and we work with entrepreneurial and family-owned businesses across a number of sectors. Typically size of client is 5 to 50 million. So we do mostly compliance work for non-audit businesses, as well as the annual sort of bookkeeping, management accounts, VAT compliance. And we've currently got about 100 staff in all, and we use Silverfin within the outsource team. It's been a game changer for us, which is we're happy to be here today to share our experience.
Brilliant. Thanks, Joe. So before we dive into the wonders of corporation tax, for those of you that are new to Silverfin or perhaps don't know a great deal about it, we are a cloud platform built by accountants for accountants. And our real primary purpose is to help accounting firms automate and standardize their compliance processes and also support the growth of advisory services using detailed data analytics. We're also lucky enough to boast some great industry names as customers and partners. And diving in a bit more as to what Silverfin does, we take your clients' data, so be that from their source bookkeeping software, whether that be on Excel, and we can pull that into Silverfin into the Silverfin environment. So it's in a completely standardized platform. So wherever that data is coming from, it will flow through into Silverfin. And then within Silverfin, we have the ability to prepare digital working papers as part of either your year-end compliance or management accounts, etc., which that data that will then flow through to our accounts production module, enabling you to prepare those financial statements. Carrying on, the flow through will then enable us now to prepare the corporation tax return as well. And within that platform, we also have the ability to use additional workflows to be preparing management accounts, reports for our clients. So your data will come straight from its source place of origin. So whether that could be Xero, could be Excel. And that same data will then flow start to finish through the working papers right out the other end to you submitting to Companies House, HMRC, or in terms of management accounts, it may be providing that back to your clients. As well as that, wrapped around the Silverfin core platform, we also have a number of really great tools to enhance that offering, both in terms of your compliance process and in terms of what we offer your clients. So that's collaboration with your clients and your staff, being able to communicate from directly within the platform. Insights, so running data analytics across all of that client data, which is super helpful. And moving on, perhaps most importantly today, to our newest module is that corporation tax piece that we saw on the previous slide. So corporation tax is our newest module, and it's going to be the focus for our session today. And it completes that seamless workflow that I've spoke about. So all of that data is flowing directly from the source into your working papers, and we're only touching it once. So at the point we've worked on that data within your working papers, your accounts production will then be populated with that same information, as will your corporation tax. So we no longer have any manual data entry or transfer from the point of working to the point of entering information for tax purposes. As a result, we see quite a lot of time savings, whether that's in the initial roll forward of all of that data when we're preparing tax returns, your iXBRL tagging, and of course, right the way through to that filing with HMRC. Our corporation tax module has been developed alongside UK tax experts from the Big Four and is going to be regularly updated to align with up-to-date tax legislation. Of course, it's a new product module, so what that also means is we're going to be consistently investing in it to evolve and enhance it over the coming months as well. So a really exciting time for Silverfin, and in particular in that corporation tax space. But I'm now going to hand over to Hannah, who's going to give you a bit of a demo of that CT platform within Silverfin.
Thanks, Alicia. So our corporation tax product has been designed and built to help you complete your tax returns faster, also to make the process overall easier and for the inputs to be better. And we do that through connected data throughout the platform. This means cutting out manual work, eliminating the need to move all copy data from one place to another. This reduces human error and speeds up the process. So let's take a look at how we do that. The workflow is laid out in this intuitive format. Tax schedules are all structured in the order that they would typically be completed, starting with some of the general information about the return, then diving into the analysing the profit and loss, and ending with the tax disclosures. Now, for those of you familiar with Silverfin, you have the continuation of layouts, shortcuts, and symbols that you're used to seeing, guiding you through the reconciliation that require attention and those that have already been completed with ease. One of the key schedules is our profit and loss and other comprehensive income template, and it's a great place to show off the value of why people choose to use Silverfin. Here, you don't need to import any additional data or enter the detailed P&L from your accounts production software, nor is there a need to manually categorise the tax treatments, which we all know can be a pretty time-consuming task and an area prone to errors. Because we've already mapped and therefore standardised the nominal codes when the client data brought into the platform at the start of the process, this means the data is automatically flowing into the relevant CT schedules. And if you're using Silverfin Accounts Production, this schedule directly links to the detailed profit and loss. As you complete your working papers and year-end accounts in Silverfin, your CT schedules and return get automatically completed too. So it's a real big time saver. It's worth noting too that these nominal codes have been automatically allocated a default tax treatment based on the type of account that the logic of our tax experts have built into the platform. Now, these can be overwritten at any point where required. When an account needs multiple tax treatment, you can select the additional analysis. Then navigate to the account template to see that breakdown. You can then easily pull the ledger information detail from your bookkeeping system to then further analyze and break down those transactions and allocate the appropriate tax treatments to each line. Now, one of the cool things is that you can do this at the same time that you're preparing and reconciling the accounts, as this will all be automatically linked. This helps reduce any back and forth between accounting and tax systems and also different teams. You can then see this data in the summary of additional analysis. And once you've selected the tax treatments, the values will flow through to the relevant underlying schedules, whether that's provisions, loan relationships, or in this case, our pensions. These schedules can be reconciled further if required. The relevant adjustments to any trading income will be calculated and displayed in the adjustment table at the bottom right of this schedule. You can click on any blue highlighted values or text, which will direct you to the trading income schedule where the adjustment is displayed. Let's take a look at another example of how this data is connected in Silverfin. Information from the fixed asset register in the working papers feeds automatically through to our CT fixed asset additions and disposals template. So here, this means we automatically pull any additions and any disposals into the relevant schedules. You can also then select your tax treatment, similar to how we did in the main P&L schedules. For example, here you may choose the super deduction. And all this means that there's no rekeying data, which may be prone to errors, and more importantly, will save you time. Plus, you're always now looking at the latest data. Any changes to the client file are reflected across all the other workflows too. Once you've completed all the applicable reconciliations, you can move to the tax calculation templates, starting with our trading income template. Adjustments to your trading income will flow into this schedule and provide a summary of those adjustments that you have made during the completion of the tax return. The schedule also allows you to seamlessly navigate through the underlying schedules for ease when reviewing. If there are relevant losses or release, these can be allocated using Silverfin's losses template. Finally, the total taxable profit or loss amount from these schedules is then linked to the tax calculation, which shows the final tax liability and amounts payable. The schedule summarizes all of the income streams, chargeable gains, losses, and reliefs to arrive at a total taxable profit and loss amount. Finally, you can then check the tax calculation schedule and the CT template, navigate into the CT 600, which will be automatically populating as you have been working on the other schedules. This is where you'll see the final tax liability and amounts payable. All figures from the computation will feed in automatically to the appropriate sections within the CT 600, so no manual input is required. Now, this template is purely for information purposes, so that you can review the form and ensure the output is correct. Once approved, the return and computation can be then submitted online seamlessly to HMRC throughout Silverfin's API integration. You can also attach any statutory accounts, including a detailed P&L, to the corporation tax return while filing with HMRC. And if you're using Silverfin Accounts Production, then you can attach the accounts to the tax module at the same time that you submit them to Companies House to prevent any versioning issues. Now, you can also run a PDF export, which will be the client-facing version of your tax computation and CT600 using the exports functionality within Silverfin, as you would do with your annual accounts, for a one-click, consistent information packs to send to your clients. Thanks, I'll now hand you over to Alicia.
Thanks, Hannah. It's always great to watch it. I feel like I learn something new every time I watch you demoing it. But now let's have a chat with Joe and Paige from Hurst. We want to talk a little bit around how they found using the Silverfin platform and in particular corporation tax. So if I come to you first, Joe, would you mind giving us just a brief overview of how you're currently using the Silverfin platform?
Yeah, sure. So we moved to Silverfin about 18 months ago, and we use it for everything. So effectively, we started with working papers and statutory accounts. We've since transitioned our management accounts clients, and also in the last 2 months, we've moved effectively everything onto corporation tax now as well. So effectively, Silverfin is our one-stop shop for all of our sort of client delivery needs.
Yeah, nice. And what challenges were you facing before you implemented Silverfin across all of those areas?
So previous to Silverfin, we actually had 2 different systems, one for work papers and statutory accounts production, and a different system for corporation tax. And then management accounts were being done in Excel. So we had a lot of inefficiency in our process. So information would come in, it'd have to be manually mapped each time the accounts and the work papers would be produced, and then we'd have to move all of that data into our tax software, back and forth with adjustments and tax journals. So it was just a lot of wasted time and effort, I think. And what we've found since then is actually we can do so much with that time. So in terms of sort of changing the client's experience and actually being more productive, you know, we're growing sort of part of the business, so being able to do more with what we have has been really, really important for us. I think from a team point of view, I think the days of working in non-cloud-based software are gone. You know, we've had a number of recruits into the team and they've taken to Silverfin really quickly. I think had we had to do the induction, the training with our old systems, it doesn't give the right impression of who we are and what our ambitions are in the market. So I think it's been a really good from a training experience and a sort of team. I think Paige can probably contest this better on my point. I think in terms of the client experience as well, so if they're not getting emails from us, they're getting everything in one platform. So we use Pulse a lot in terms of requesting information, dealing with them. We can collaborate much better as a team across the platform. So because everything is in one place, we've got really good visibility over where things are up to. If people are asking sort of Page questions, you know, we've got really good sort of traceability within there as well. And the other challenges we had was around our client data was quite fragmented. So we have a huge amount of information about our clients, but it just wasn't in a usable format and we had no access to it. So by bringing everything into a single platform where we've got really sort of standardized formats and mapping across them, we can do some really clever things in terms of understanding our client base, you know, segmenting the type of clients we work with, what the issues are for those clients, and just really understanding those better and being able to kind of share that knowledge with clients. So yeah, I think it's kind of multifaceted in terms of the challenges we've had. I think, you know, the biggest one is around inefficiency, and I think that's been a huge sort of payoff even within the initial sort of 18-month period.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that I think a lot of accounting firms feel, isn't it? Certainly feels like a long time ago that I was in practice, but certainly that picking up and putting down of a compliance file, like that time really racks up very quickly. And so I imagine to have it all in one system, you see the benefit of that pretty quick rather than when it was me, it was passing over like the brown paper files, right? I wasn't even paperless on Excel at that point, but I can definitely see where that's made a big change. And you talked a bit about benefits, and I think Hannah popped up a slide that showed a couple of them that we've spoken through previously. But what would you say is the biggest win for you, having all of that in one place? Is it the time? Is it the change and, being able to spend more time with the clients?
It's really hard to kind of pick one. I think it's accumulation of everything. I think, a lot of the frustrations with our old way of working was kind of not pointless tasks, but non-value adding stuff. So nobody got much enjoyment or job satisfaction out of moving data around, and that was also very inefficient. So I think it just hits so many of those sort of challenges. And I think efficiency in production is one side of things, but I think client experience, staff experience is really important, especially when we're in, a relatively tough recruitment environment and we're really sort of competing for things. But I think it says a lot about us as a firm as well in terms of mindset and where we go. So we don't want to be sleepy accountants where you send, your TBs in the Excel rather than paper records, but we want to be connected to you. We want to work with you efficiently. And I think it just helps us with that all round sort of client experience and professionalism in terms of who we want to set ourselves out to be.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you make a really good point around that. The need to keep talent, like both bring talent in and then keep talent, and having a better staff experience as well is like a really great way to be doing that, and allowing the staff to feel like they're at the forefront of that technology rather than rinsing and repeating what maybe in the past could be quite mundane tasks. So no, I find that really interesting. You talked about time savings, and I know like we talk about time savings a lot. Do you have any specific examples of where you've seen that?
Yeah, I mean, I think before we kind of went with Silverfin, we kind of set out what we thought the time savings might be. And what we've actually seen is that there's more than we thought. So from little
great news.
So little things like rolling files forward, iXBRL tagging accounts and then having to sort out the errors, moving data from one system and then back and forth with adjustments. Those kind of little things all add up. I think there's a lot of efficiency in the manager and partner review. So just the way that the workflow review works, and the fact that it is cloud-based, there's huge savings from that point of view. If I suppose gun to my head, it depends on the client size. So most of our files are probably sort of say 5 to sort of 10 million turnover. I would say we save between 2 and 7 hours on each sort of file.
Yeah.
And that's a sizable amount when you've got, a limited sort of resource around team size and capacity. It's I think there's the data to it, but there's also the feeling of the team. So we've done, quite a look back and sort of said, what are the changes and what are the benefits that it's brought? And what we've said is it's just the pressure's off. So we're way ahead in terms of client delivery of where we've been before. We're not having to sort of chase deadlines or up against it because we're just so far ahead of where we've been previously. And that is because actually we just get through the work quicker. We're spending time doing more value-adding client, building experiences rather than just moving data around and sorting out tagging issues. So
yeah, no, nice, that's great. And I mean, we talked about Silverfin generally, but obviously with the focus being on corporation tax as the brand new module, Paige, why did you decide to use CT? Because actually you were one of our original beta testers before it even went live.
Yes, that's right. I think our approach to Silverfin initially was the fact that this was on the horizon, and that we knew that we could get involved with the testing element of it before the product went live, and that was something we were definitely interested in. As Joe said, it was that integrated system that we were after, and from the demos that Silverfin provided to us, that was something we were key to get into, as we wanted that platform all in one place.
Yeah, nice. And how was your experience of testing corporation tax? Because I think it's always a bit of a challenge when you're testing a brand new product. I think people go understandably a bit hesitant around it, but my understanding is that you actually had a really great experience with the product and from the off, which is a win.
That's absolutely right. I think we saw it, as you say, you can see challenges as sometimes quite big and scary. I think that we saw this as an opportunity to have our stamp and make our mark on a really great product that was coming out, and from working with Hannah throughout the process as our sort of main contact and liaison with Silverfin, we knew we had a strong relationship to begin with, great foundations from the onboarding process. And then that carried right the way through to the corporation tax. We knew we could be quite honest and open with our feedback, and that you guys would be really receptive to hearing those points. We weren't afraid of getting into those back and forths with yourselves, saying we think it should look like this presentationally, like it's looking like this at the moment, and getting to that place where we both had understanding of what was required and what needed to be compliant and what actually looked good that we at Hurst would be comfortable putting out to our clients as well. And I think on top of that, that with the product being live at the moment, I think we're still in that really great space where communication is key and feedback is still consistent. And we've been able to challenge ourselves to producing the best working papers, corporation tax working papers that there are out there, and Silverfin have been open to doing the same. So it's been a really great challenge and a really great experience.
Yeah, and it's really, not just corporation tax, but Silverfin as a whole really does challenge that. Should we be doing things the way we've always done it, right? Which sometimes we fall into that trap, particularly when we're working on to a timesheet. No, I find it really interesting. And what would you say you've found the most useful part of the corporation tax module compared to how you were doing things previously?
So as Joe sort of touched on before, and even Hannah in the demo, the data entry is a massive thing for us. We've never had a system where it was as simple as linking it up to, for example, Xero or Sage, and just being able to get on with the job. Essentially, it's always been, have you got this information? We're working on Excel sheets here and there, having to put the data itself into multiple places, whereas we found with Silverfin, it's just so useful just knowing you put that information in once and it will replicate it wherever it needs to be. And not having to think about those things actually takes a lot of gives you that time back, essentially. And that's the same. A great example of that is the fixed assets, putting that into the working papers and the accounts production, and then seeing that pull through into the corporation tax module is again something that now we just don't even think about. It's there, it's pulling straight through, it's doing exactly what you want it to do. And again, in Hannah's demo, we saw the iXBRL process there. Having two systems previously, it meant we had to tag the accounts in one place, deal with the issues and the errors that threw out, then go into the corporation tax software, do the same again, deal with the issues that we were constantly facing there through the tagging process, and then kind of cross our fingers that the two would marry up and go through and submit to HMRC. And that is just something that we don't have to think about. I think at first, when myself and Joe were looking at the iXBRL process in Silverfin, we were so worried because it was so simple. And it really is just that simple. It's a few click of a buttons, and we've, again, touch wood, had no errors with any of it. So it's really streamlined that process and just made those are the most useful things that we found with the CT package.
Yeah, and I guess to have it like at a click of a button like that, once you've done that work, the working papers and the accounts production already, it really is just the cherry on top, because without even realizing it, you've probably done 3/4 of the work that previously would have been a standalone piece for you to look at. So I can definitely see where that adds value. So look, back to Silverfin generally, and I'll put the question to both of you. Perhaps you've talked a lot around how you're using Silverfin and that's really great and that your teams are loving it, but obviously taking on a new software is a challenge at the best of times. Even the best software in the world, we've got change management to worry about, we've got getting the staff on board, we've got getting the processes right. So how did you find that onboarding process with Silverfin and actually the ongoing relationship? Because I know you still work really closely with Hannah is your CSM and also the product team as well.
Yeah, I think in terms of ourselves and our staff and getting the team engaged, that has been essentially very easy. I think we aren't people that settle for a product, and we've found that previously, and the frustrations have really come out with the types of softwares that we've used in the past, just not being able to get over those hurdles, and people seeing Silverfin and going, actually, we can tweak this, we can make it the way we want it to be, and not just sort of crossing the road because that's what we did the year before. It's just been seamless, and that's been, again, a joint effort between Hurst and Silverfin. We've had the right approach to it, and it's all of our feedback has been received very well, so we found it quite smooth.
Yeah, nice. What about you, Joe?
I think, it's probably echoes a lot of what sort of Paige says. I think if we look at other software providers, we don't have this relationship with any of them. And that comes from a number of things. I think, the listening to point. So genuinely wanted to hear what we have to say, and being open about what is and what isn't possible. And then I suppose the other side is around how involved and how close we are. So we have weekly catch-ups with Hannah where we go through, we have a working document where we talk about sort of feedback and challenges and things. But I think through the quarterly business reviews, you guys are genuinely interested in what our challenges are, and it might not be Silverfin related, but it's taken the time to sort of understand and listen to us, and again, challenge us on our thinking with the kind of experience that you've got from working with, firms like ours across the UK and I suppose internationally as well. So it feels very much like it's not just about the software, it's about the relationship, it's about our business, it's about helping each other, and a lot of it comes from sort of mutual benefit. So yeah, it's refreshing, I think, to have that relationship with a software provider, which is fundamental to our business.
Yeah, nice. And do you think that having that close relationship then has made it easier when you've been going through that change with your staff and rolling out new systems, because you always have that reassurance?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. I think it's the team knowing that they're listened to as well. So it's not just that if they've got a frustration that we can raise it, and it's not just kind of, put on a shelf and it's tough, get on with it sort of thing, which I think helps them feel part of the process. So it's being done with them and not to them.
Yeah. No, obviously it's great for me to hear and great for Hannah to hear, but I think it's a really important point, and it's one that's often overlooked when you first start with new software and people talk about digital transformation. It's actually the people bit is sometimes often the hardest bit, right? So to have that support is probably super important. Well, thank you very much. It has been great hearing about your experiences and that they're so positive. We're just going to have a look and see if we've got any questions from the attendees. Give me 1 second. So Hannah, I'm going to put one to you if that's all right. A couple of product ones. Yeah. The first one we've got is from Brenda, who's asked, with all the data in one place in Silverfin, do we have any kind of analytics to be able to look across that at all?
Yeah, great. So we do. We have what's called insights within Silverfin. Our insights tool will allow you to query all of the client data. So whether that's just specific practice management stuff or even any of the financial information. So it just helps support any client conversations that you might be having. So yeah, you can literally run any type of insight that you want to see. So might be all your negative cash balances across all of your portfolio or particular sectors. So works really well in having that standardized process. That's how we do it, through standardizing all of the mapping so that actually we can interrogate all of that data in one place.
Yeah, nice. And as you've mentioned mapping, we also had a question from Paul just around how we do that mapping. We've obviously got data coming in from loads of different systems and loads of different charts of accounts. And how arduous is that task? And how do we try and make that easier within Silverfin so that we don't lose time and efficiency there as well?
Yeah. So we have what's called our standardized mapping list. Now we do have those for different types of companies. So it might be limited, unincorporated, or LLPs even, or even specific sectors. But what will happen is when you first load your data into the system, so regardless of the bookkeeping system, it takes that data and then it uses an AI tool, so our Silverfin assistant tool, to then post it where it thinks it should sit. So then all you're doing then is checking that data, make sure you're happy of where it's going, and then that's it. It's posted. It's really easy, slick simple process. You can then amend that at any point if you need to. So if it was incorrectly mapped in the first place, say somebody else did that, when you come to do the job, you can easily amend it if you need to. But yeah, it's click of a button.
Yeah, nice. And it's definitely a USP for Silverfin that we do have that AI technology within the platform, right? It's probably something we're going to see a lot more of. And probably host a lot more webinars on over the coming months. So that's good. I've got a couple more for you while I've got you on the spot.
Okay.
Malcolm sent Malcolm, your product looks really interesting, but I'm wondering what kind of tax expertise Silverfin have in the background.
Yeah, because I've not touched tax for a long time, so I'm definitely not an expert myself. But we do actually work. So the product team, our internal product team, do have a little bit of tax knowledge, obviously. But they work with several companies actually around the development and obviously the ongoing maintenance and any of those updates that need to be pushed in. So we do have a general knowledge partner called Pilgrim. And then we do work with one of the big fours as well. So they help us and support us around like legislative updates and what's required. So we definitely get that continuous specialized tax knowledge from the experts where we may not know or need that particular guidance. So one of the things obviously that we are going to be working on currently with them are updating everything so that it's aligned to our spring budget. So yeah, we do work with them on an ongoing relationship.
Yeah, nice. And last question then for you that's coming from Chris, and probably quite a nice one to end off on is, do we have to use corporation tax and all of the modules straight away? What if we wanted to just start with working papers?
Yeah, so not an issue at all. Silverfin does work in like a modular type level. So you've obviously got the core functionality within the working papers. So you can use that as a standalone product. That's not an issue. CT is also a standalone product. So you don't necessarily have to have the working papers and accounts production plugged into that, but it will work so much more efficiently if you do use the system as a whole platform, similar to how Hurst are using it. Like that's where they're seeing the most gains and efficiencies on time savings, because if you did use it as a standalone product, you may then have to do some manual entry to get it how you need it. But using the platform will just allow you to scale up at your own pace, really. Yeah. So
yeah, definitely. And I think that's a really great area where we can add hopefully quite a lot of value to new customers, is working out actually what's the right project approach, because it might be that we want to use all of the modules, but in terms of rolling that out, it makes sense to do it in smaller sections, right? And that's where you and I probably spend a lot of our time working to make sure that that's right, which I don't know about you, but I really enjoy it. You have to say you enjoy it because we're on a webinar. Well, look, thank you so much to everyone for joining. In particular, thank you to Paige and Joe for joining us in telling us about their Silverfin journey so far, particularly in relation to corporation tax. If you do want any further information, please reach out, or if you would like a personalised demo, and you'll also receive a recording of this webinar in your inbox in due course. So thanks again, until next time.